and it is May 28th, 2025, I believe. And there's let's see, the Bitcoin conference happening in Las Vegas with the side quests of the Ordinals inscription conference, Bitcoin Ordinals inscription conference, or events happening there as well. Is the Litecoin conference happening around now? I don't know. Last time it was happening around the same time, maybe a week, maybe some days later, or maybe around the same time. But yeah, this year, the Bitcoin 2025, the Bitcoin conference is in Vegas. And of course, there's going to be, Michael Saylor will be there again to talk about, how great Bitcoin is and how wonderful his company's doing and how it's the future. And I'm sure he's going to make some, quotable quotes about the event or about Bitcoin in the current status that it is and what his expectations are, maybe, who knows, let's say, but, and there's going to be, what's his name? Donald Trump Jr., I think, will be there, and Eric Trump. I think they were there also last year, right? And I think this year, Vice President J.D. Vance will be there. I don't think anyone's expecting President Trump to be there this year. He would certainly be on the bill if he was. He did speak there last year when he was a candidate. And, people will look at the things that have happened in the past, 10 months, something like that. It was in July of last year, if I remember correctly, right? When he showed up to the conference and said that if he was elected president, he would make a national crypto reserve. And he's, at least signed an executive order for it, establishing the Bitcoin reserve and the crypto reserve with the other assets and the digital assets reserve. And there's a bunch of things that, some things have not yet been done yet, like obviously full regulation still pending, on things like stable coins and whatever. But, is it in the works soon? Is it going to happen soon? Who knows? Is there going to be an XRP ETF? Are there going to be other ETFs? Probably. Right? But does any of that affect the price of Bitcoin and altcoins day to day, intraday? Not really, no. Those are all elements of what's happening in the industry, but they don't really affect day to day what's happening with the prices, which is why when people get all hyped up and pumped up and they turn on the YouTube video or whatever they're watching on Rumble, they're watching the video streams, whatever they're watching it. I know they're on YouTube. I don't know what other platforms they're on, but I'm guessing they're probably also on Rumble. What do they think is going to happen? That everybody's watching an event and therefore the price is going to pump because suddenly everyone's going to want to go and buy Bitcoin? I mean, get real. First of all, how many people do you think are even watching the live stream, let alone even the recorded clips? Even if 10 million people, even if 100 million people saw the live streams or any part of any of the live streams of any of these days of the conference, live streams and or recorded videos, do you really think that's going to pump the price of a multi-trillion-dollar asset? I mean, really? Hundreds of millions of people every day use Google and YouTube. Does that pump the price of YouTube every day? They never have any down days on their price? Really? Of course they do. Why? Because the returns are what dictate the price. Price doesn't dictate the returns. Volatility, tendency, the correlation, right, is what determines the returns, which determines which direction the price is going to go. So, do you think that a conference and a big announcement is going to somehow move the market significantly in a way that's actually sustained, even if there is a move? Look at last year. Last year's a perfect example. Right at the Bitcoin conference, oh, Trump spoke. Oh, there was a Trump pump that actually was a dump, and it wasn't because he spoke. It was because the VEPS were indicating that it was time for the price to go down a little bit and then go sideways, which it did very nicely. If you look at like the lower time frames, right? It wasn't like he spoke and suddenly the price surged, or he spoke and suddenly the price crashed to zero. No, it was a little bit of movement, and it wasn't the way people in the peanut gallery was saying it was going to go. Oh, the candidate, is speaking. Trump is speaking. It's for sure going to go to the moon now. Well, it didn't go to the moon, right? And in fact, people will say, well, you see when he won the election, it started pumping, and that's when it went to 100 for the first time. No, that was the VEPS that was just saying, okay, there's a probability it's going to go up, down, or sideways, and the upside played out. It's not because he won the election that the price of things went up. The price of the crypto market went up. It's not. Now, of course, narrative tellers will tell you that, but it's bogus, and it's not because of him or because of his tariff policy that the entire stock market crashed. It's just not true. The markets were already in mean reversion before he even announced the tariffs after he got into office. There was already a mean reversion happening. It was frankly very due. The probability is significant that it would happen. So to say that there was going to be, a massive pump after election day because President Trump got elected, it's nonsense. The probabilities were just indicating that there was a high probability for a move, and the probability to the upside is the one that played out. Right? That's all it is. Anyway, so the point is, don't look to the narrative storytellers to give you the actual facts of what matters, because they're not telling you what actually factually matters. They're telling you absolute nonsense that really doesn't matter. Right? They're telling you absolute nonsense that does not tell you the facts about the markets. The markets do not move according to the silly hogwash. They just don't. The stories of the news, that's not what moves the market. Events like a conference are not what moves the markets. Again, you might think that they do, and you might associate a movement in the market with an event that just happened or is happening or is about to happen. But that is a very foolish thing to do. And by the way, it could be that every single person at that conference decides at the same time, you know what, we're here, we're all hyped up, and a huge amount of people watching are like, we're here, we're all hyped up, let's buy some Bitcoin. And they all buy the Bitcoin. And yes, that would obviously increase the price if everybody suddenly buys. Right? But again, the probability of, let's say there's 100 million people watching. There's nowhere near that, but let's just pretend that there is. Okay? If there's 100 million people watching, all suddenly buying, how many buys do you think they're going to do? Most people will do one buy if they actually are buying. They're not going to do 2, 3, 4 buys in a row. They're not going to buy every day. They're not going to DCA every 6 hours or every hour. They're just going to buy one time, a little bit, get $50, get $5,000, get $500,000, whatever amount they want to buy. It doesn't matter. They're going to buy what they're going to buy one time. That's it. And they're not going to all push the buy button at the exact same time. But even if they all push it within a half an hour, or an hour or 2 or 3 or a whole day, and the price keeps going up for an entire day, what do you think is going to happen the next day? If, let's say, the asset hit a third standard deviation band to the upside on the RMLR. on any given time frame during that day. What do you think is going to happen after it stops hitting that third band to the upside of that RMLR? It's going to mean revert to it, up, down, or sideways. Right? But if it went up very high and the returns start coming down and they remain positively correlated, for example, price is going to dip. Similar to if you look at the APP, okay? Now you can argue me, well, the APP is not really purely VEPS. Okay, that's fine, but it's the alpha price percentile. It's not just random price stuff. If you look at the APP, when they're all very high, especially on a time frame like a weekly time frame, and you see them starting to come down, price tends to drop a little bit, especially if it's sustained move to the downside. Now, it's not a leading indicator. Well, it's included in a leading indicator, but it's not itself a leading indicator, but it is a very good confirmation indicator. When you see the weekly assets, the weekly time frame, for example, on Bitcoin, and you see, oh, okay, yeah, it could easily continue for a bit more, but it could just as easily begin a mean reversion to the downside, even this week. And, that's entirely possible. It could be that it continues to, run up for a little bit. Hell, maybe it even has a nice blow off top, or it gets $120,000, $150,000, $200,000. Wow, wouldn't that be great? Yeah, it'd be great. What do you think he's going to do after that? What do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to suddenly stay at twice the price of what it currently is? Or do you think it's more likely that the asset is going to mean revert to where it actually needs to go? If you guessed it's going to mean revert, you guessed right. That is what the asset will do. Assets don't just magically run up to mysterious numbers and stay there for no reason. They don't just go to round numbers. Oh, it's going to go to $250,000. Why do you think it's going to go to $250,000? There's no justification for that whatsoever. It's just give me the justification for it. It's not happening. Anyway, that's what I want to let you guys know about, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.